The fifth season of Stranger Things begins by taking us back to November 12, 1983, the night Will Byers first went missing in Season 1. This time, however, we see exactly what happened to him inside the Upside Down. We find young Will hiding inside his fort, Castle Byers, singing his favorite song to try and stay brave. Outside, a spooky red fog rolls in, and suddenly a Demogorgon crashes through the entrance. Will runs into the dark woods and climbs a tree to get away. It looks like he might escape it, but the monster is too fast and climbs right after him. Will tries to jump to another branch, but he slips and falls, hitting the ground and passing out. The Demogorgon drags the unconscious Will into a version of the Hawkins library that is covered in gross, fleshy vines. That's when Vecna steps out of the shadows. We learn that Vecna actually found Will on that very first night and infected him while he was knocked out. Vecna lifts Will into the air with his tentacles and whispers that their journey is just beginning. This new twist changes everything we thought we knew, showing that Will's connection to the Upside Down wasn't an accident. It was a part of Vecna's plan all along. The story jumps ahead to November 1987, about a year after the scary events of Season 4. Hawkins is now a locked-down zone under military rule, where everyone is watched and forced to get regular checkups. The giant cracks in the ground have been covered with huge metal plates, but the army uses these plates to hide a secret door they use for their own missions. Inside town, the Byers family is staying with the Wheelers. The first sign of trouble comes from little Holly Wheeler. While setting the table for breakfast, she waves at a dark shape outside the window as if she knows who it is. Meanwhile, Robin and Steve works at the town's only radio station, the Squawk. Robin uses her radio show to send secret coded messages to their friends who are spread out across town. Her broadcasts explain that Hawkins is under quarantine and everyone is feeling nervous and trapped. Over at the high school, Dustin still proudly wears his Hellfire Club shirt, even though other students are mean to him because they still blame the club for the town's disasters. When a bully named Andy tries to rip Dustin's shirt, Lucas uses his status as a popular athlete to step in and stop it. Dustin refuses to hide who he is, saying that Eddie wouldn't want them to pretend nothing happened, but his sadness makes him feel more alone than ever. Deep in the woods, Eleven is secretly training with Hopper and Joyce. She practices her powers by destroying pumpkin targets in a timed obstacle course. Hopper is terrified of losing her, so he tries to keep her away from the action. He wants her to stay safe in a bathtub for mental training instead of actually going into the Upside Down. Eleven doesn't realize she has already passed the tests she needs to go on missions with Hopper. He's keeping her progress a secret because he's afraid she will rush into a fight before they understand Vecna's next move. Outside the guarded walls of the town, Murray is sneaking in supplies like radios, weapons, and tapes while pretending to be a delivery driver. He brings a scary warning to the team. The military is planning a massive burn mission. This is an operation where they use flamethrowers to force open the gate so soldiers can march into the Upside Down. We also learn a new code word, a crawl, which the friends use to describe secret missions into that dark world. Hopper has been secretly joining these military missions to spy on the Upside Down, trying his best to stay hidden. Even though no one has seen Vecna lately, Nancy and Will are sure he is still out there. Will can even feel echoes of Vecna in his mind. As the day goes on, Will's connection to the monster gets stronger. In the middle of the school hallway, he suddenly sees the sky spinning, but he's the only one who can see it. Mike notices and starts to worry that Vecna is getting closer. Meanwhile, little Holly is acting even weirder. At recess, she talks to an invisible person she calls Mr. Whatsit. Her teachers think she is just playing, but Holly says this friend is protecting her from monsters. Later, Mike picks her up and tries to make her feel better by giving her a special D&D toy called Holly the Heroic, a character who can open doors to other worlds. While this is happening, Hopper and Joyce argue about Eleven. Joyce thinks Eleven should be part of the plan, but Hopper is too scared of losing her to let her fight. As evening approaches, the group gets ready for their next mission. Dustin goes to visit Eddie's grave, but he finds it has been trashed by bullies again. This time, the red marks look like real blood. The bully Andy and his gang jump on Dustin and beat him up badly. The scene ends with Dustin on the ground while Lucas desperately calls him on the radio, and we don't know if Dustin is okay. At the same time, Robin and Vicky share a kiss, which Will accidentally sees. This makes Will feel very upset and confused, and he runs away. The whole group meets up at the radio station to prepare. 11 tells Mike she hopes they can finally have a happy life if they beat Vecna, and Mike promises her they will. The military gets ready for their big mission to burn a path into the Upside Down. While trucks head toward the gate, Jonathan and Steve work in a van to track Hopper's signal via radio. Hopper sneaks into a hidden bunker in the woods and crawls through secret tunnels until he comes out inside an old empty radio shack. From there, he secretly jumps onto the back of a military supply truck. He hides as the truck passes through checkpoints and drives straight into the rift that leads to the Upside Down. As soon as they are inside, the gate seals shut, trapping Hopper in the Upside Down. At first, the radio signal seems fine, but then the trucks suddenly stop. Hopper tries to call for help on the radio saying something is wrong, but he is cut off. At that exact moment, Will collapses at the radio station. His neck tingles and he has a terrifying vision of what is happening to Hopper. Through Will's eyes, we see a Demogorgon attacking the soldiers with incredible speed. The whole convoy falls into chaos as the monster rips the driver out of the window. After the truck crashes, Hopper dives into the dark woods of the Upside Down to hide. Joyce helps Will as he shakes on the floor from his vision. When he finally wakes up, he gasps out a terrifying warning. The monster isn't just attacking the soldiers, it's headed straight for the Wheeler's house. Inside the Wheeler home, everything seems normal. Ted is practicing golf in the yard and Karen is relaxing listening songs, totally unaware of the danger. Upstairs, Holly is crying in her room when her ceiling begins to crack in the same creepy pattern seen in Season 4. But this isn't just a vision, the ceiling is physically splitting open as a portal to the Upside Down. Episode 1 ends with the arrival of Demogorgon.
Episode 2 starts with terrified Holly runs to the bathroom to find her mom. Karen tries to calm her down, but then the lights start flickering, and a Demogorgon smashes through the door. Karen grabs Holly and they hide underwater in the bathtub, hoping the creature won't find them. Just as the monster gets close, Ted notices the lights flickering and calls out for Karen. This distraction gives them a chance to breathe. Ted tries to fight the beast with a golf bat, but it easily throws him through a wall. Karen and Holly race downstairs to escape, but another portal opens in the kitchen. Karen trips and falls, and as the monster closes in, she bravely stabs it with a broken wine bottle to protect her daughter, but unable to stop the Demogorgon completely. By the time Nancy and 11 arrive, the house is a mess. They find a trail of blood and see Karen badly hurt on the floor. Before passing out, Karen manages to whisper one name, Holly. A flashback reveals the truth. The Demogorgon grabbed Holly and dragged her into the Upside Down. 11 immediately jumps through the portal to chase them, while Nancy calls for an ambulance. After the attack, Karen and Ted are taken to the hospital. Mike feels guilty and apologizes to Nancy for not arriving faster, but Nancy realizes they waited too long to tell their parents the truth or get them out of town. Mike can't believe Vecna would target a little girl like Holly. Nancy tells him that this feels like a countdown, because Vecna once showed her a vision where her parents and Holly were all dead. Lucas, however, has a different theory. He thinks if Vecna just wanted to hurt Nancy, he would have done it himself. Instead, he notices a pattern. It's November 3rd, and Will was taken years ago on November 6th. Lucas believes Holly's disappearance is a repeat of what happened to Will. He stays hopeful, reminding everyone that they saved Will and can save Holly too, especially since 11 is already in the Upside Down looking for her. Meanwhile, the military starts to blame 11 for the attack on the Wheeler house. Deep in the Upside Down, 11 follows the trail of the injured monster. She almost attacks a shadow in the woods, but it turns out to be Hopper, who survived the truck crash. She quickly tells him about Holly, and the two of them team up to follow the monster's tracks. Back at the radio station, Joyce asks Will about his vision. Will explains that it was incredibly intense. It was like he was actually inside the monster's head, seeing what it saw. Joyce is worried because she thought Will's link to the Upside Down was gone. Will admits that he never felt the connection truly break. He only felt safe when he lived far away in California. Now that he's back in Hawkins, he can feel Vecna's presence stronger than ever. Robin listens to Will and Joyce and comes up with a clever idea. She thinks Will is like a human antenna. Just like a radio picks up music from the air, Will picks up Vecna's signals because of the particles still inside him. Will thinks this is the key to finding Holly. He remembers a strange vision he had in the woods earlier and realizes he might have been seeing through the eyes of one of the monsters. Joyce doesn't want Will to put himself in danger, but Will insists he has to save Holly. Meanwhile, Steve and Jonathan are waiting in their van for the battery to charge. They're both stressed out. Ted is in a coma and Karen is having surgery, so Steve thinks they should go to the hospital to support Nancy. Jonathan gets annoyed, thinking Steve is just trying to look like a hero to impress her. Their argument is interrupted when Dustin shows up looking like he was in a major fight. He's covered in bruises. He lies and says he crashed his bike, but Steve knows better. They start arguing, but the mood gets heavy and quiet when Dustin asks the hardest question: why was Holly taken? Down in the Upside Down, Hopper is upset that 11 didn't use the safe tunnels to get there. He tells her the military is looking for her and she's in big trouble. 11 tells him she had to come, it was her instinct. She then notices the blood trail of the Demogorgon and begins to follow. At the hospital, Lucas sits by Max's bed. He talks to her about everything that is going wrong and how much the team needs her. He holds her hand while her favorite song, Running Up That Hill, plays quietly, begging her for any small sign that she is still in there. Meanwhile, Mike is thinking about what Lucas said regarding coincidences. He remembers Holly's stories about her imaginary friend, Mr. Whatsit. She told Mike that this friend warned her monsters were coming on the exact day she was kidnapped. Mike realizes that if Mr. Whatsit is real, he is the one who knows where Holly is. To get more answers, Mike and Nancy decide they have to sneak into their mom's hospital room, even though they're not supposed to be there. At the radio station, Robin got an idea. She tricked Joyce that the radio was not working properly and has to fix it with Will. Instantly, she took Will outside to test the human antenna theory. Meanwhile, the military is checking security cameras. They find a clear picture of 11 in a car with Nancy. Now they're sure she is back in Hawkins and think she might be behind the attacks. They send this information to a scientist named Dr. K, telling her that 11 has gone back into the Upside Down. In the Upside Down, Hopper is hurt from the truck crash and getting treatment from 11, uses things Max taught her to fix his wound. Hopper admits he's just terrified of losing her again and asks her to stay close and listen to him. Mike and Nancy try to convince the doctor that they have met their mother to save Holly, but the doctor insists she has to take rest first. At that time, Vicky walks past and they get an idea. In the van, Jonathan found an unclear signal via radio. They thought they found Hopper, but Dustin clears that it is not him, maybe someone else. At that time, Joyce asks Jonathan about the radio malfunction that Robin tells her earlier, and they are shocked about her ignorance. 11 and Hopper keep moving until they hit a massive wall in the Upside Down. 11 finds one of Holly's shoes on the ground and realizes something terrifying. The monster didn't just walk away with Holly, it pulled her straight through the solid wall. This explains why 11 couldn't track her before. Robin and Will head into the woods to test their antenna theory. While they walk, Robin nervously asks Will if he saw her with her crush, Vicky, at the hospital. She's worried about what people might think. But Will kindly tells her lies and says, "I didn't see anything." Soon, they find a strange circle made of junk on the ground. This triggers a memory for Will of a spinning sky and children laughing. Then, the story shows 3 things happening at once. At the hospital, Mike and Nancy disguise themselves as hospital workers to sneak into their mom's room. Karen is awake but can't talk yet. Nancy gives her a pen, and Karen begins to write. In the woods, Will and Robin reach Holly's school. Will looks at the merry-go-round and has a huge realization. His vision of the spinning sky wasn't from a monster's point of view, it was from Holly's point of view as she looked up at the sky. This means Will wasn't just inside a monster's head, he was inside Vecna's mind. Back at the hospital, Karen finishes writing a description of the friend Holly was talking to. She describes a tall, polite man wearing a vest and a pocket watch. She slowly writes out his name, Henry. Nancy and Mike realize the truth. Holly's imaginary friend, Mr. Whatsit, is actually Henry Creel, the man who became Vecna. We see a flashback of Holly standing with a man she calls Mr. Whatsit. He acts nice, promising to save her family, and leads her toward the spooky Creel house. As Holly walks into the Creel house with him, Will, standing in the woods near the school, feels a massive surge of Vecna's evil power. He finally understands that he was seeing through Vecna's eyes the whole time, and the episode 2 ends right here. Episode 3 kicks off. In the Upside Down, Hopper and 11 are trying to break through a giant wall, but nothing works. As they stop to eat some beef jerky, military trucks suddenly surround them. The soldiers turn on a sonic device, a machine that blasts a high-pitched noise so painful it makes 11 collapse. She loses her powers and can't fight back. Back in the real world, Joyce finds Will and Robin in the roads. She is upset they ran off, but Will explains that he had to go. He tells her his vision was real. Holly was just the first kid Vecna took. He warns them that a boy named Derek is the next target, because Derek has also started seeing Mr. Whatsit. Will insists they use this information to set a trap and save Derek before it's too late. Inside a version of the Creel house, Holly is having breakfast with Mr. Whatsit. He lies to her, saying her parents are just healing and will join them soon. He also mentions that Derek will be arriving shortly. Mr. Whatsit tells Holly she can explore the house, but warns her never to go into the jungles. Before he leaves, tells her to check the mailbox. Holly finds a cassette tape and a boombox. Happily, she runs back inside, but as she enters the house, she feels a creepy sensation, like something is watching her from the dark trees in the distance. In the Upside Down, Hopper hides 11 behind a billboard, but 11 screams in pain when the machine blasts again, giving away their spot. Hopper jumps into action, using his gun and grenades to take out the soldiers and smash the machine. Once the noise stops, 11 gets her strength back and uses her powers to finish off the rest of the soldiers. In the real world, the team gathers at the radio station to figure out their next move. Will shares a huge discovery. He can now see through Vecna's eyes by tapping into the mind of a boy named Derek. Nancy realizes that Mr. Whatsit was a trick all along. Henry acted like a friendly person just to get Holly to trust him. To find Holly, the entire group comes up with a plan. They're going to trick Vecna into thinking Derek is asleep. When a Demogorgon shows up to grab him, they will shoot a tracking device into the monster. Then they just have to follow the signal straight to Vecna's lair. To keep Derek's family safe and out of the way, Lucas and Mike have to convince Erica to help. Since she knows Derek's sister, she is able to sneak some sleeping medicine into the family's dinner so they won't get hurt during the fight. Meanwhile, inside the creepy Creel house, Holly is trying to keep herself busy by exploring, playing dress-up, and cooking. She even finds an old photo of Henry when he was a young boy. Suddenly, the doorbell rings, but no one is there. When she checks the mailbox, she finds a compass, a map, and a mysterious note that says, "I need your help. Meet me at the X." Even though Henry warned her never to leave, she starts thinking about trying to escape. In the Upside Down, Hopper and 11 are on the move. They steal a military vehicle, hide it with camouflage, and take a soldier named Sergeant Akers prisoner. Hopper wants to find out when the next military truck is leaving so they can sneak back to the real world, while 11 wants to know the secrets behind the giant wall. They make a deal. Hopper will handle the questions about the trucks, and 11 will use her powers to search the soldier's mind for the truth. In the school, Mr. Clark giving a lecture about wormholes while every student couldn't understand it except Erica. At that moment, Lucas and Mike arrived for help and convince her. While at the hospital searching for the medicine they need, Robin spots her crush, Vicky, and hides to avoid an awkward moment. Will asks how she knew Vicky liked her back, and Robin explains it wasn't one big thing, it was small signs, like a look or a friendly nudge that showed the truth. Then they steal the medicines they need. Meanwhile, Murray brings weapons and supplies to the team for the mission. Steve works on the radio van to make it faster and throws out unnecessary equipment. But Dustin comes up with a plan to turn Steve's BMW into a high-tech tracking car. Murray and Nancy discuss tracking devices for their mission. Meanwhile, we learn a secret. Jonathan plans to propose to Nancy. He has been hiding an engagement ring inside a cassette tape case that Murray gave him earlier. Later, Nancy tests a special shotgun shell that can fire a tracking device. In the Upside Down, Hopper and 11 grill their prisoner, Sergeant Akers, about a secret wall. When he refuses to talk, 11 dives into his mind. She sees a vision of a scientist, Dr. K, entering a heavily guarded room behind a massive vault door. The memory is so intense that the soldier passes out. 11 tells Hopper she is sure someone very powerful, maybe even Vecna or another girl with powers, is being hidden in that lab. Back in Vecna's world, Holly looks at the D&D toy and decides to be brave. She takes the map she found and heads into the spooky woods to find the X. Back in the real world, Derek is playing his favorite game at home. At that moment, his sister Tina arrived, stole the video game's cassette, and ran. Derek followed her. In the chaos, Erica carries out her mission. She apologizes to Tina for her past behavior and brings a drugged pie to Derek's house. After the family eats it and falls asleep, the team moves them to a safe spot so they won't be in the way of the coming battle. The team turns Derek's house into a giant trap like in the Home Alone movie. Nancy, Jonathan, Mike, and Lucas hide inside, while Steve and Dustin keep watch from the car. Finally, Joyce and Will share a touching moment. Joyce apologizes for not realizing he was gone all those years ago in Season 1, and Will promises to stop keeping secrets from her. They realize that to survive what's coming next, they have to trust each other completely. Suddenly, the street lights flicker, and a portal cracks open in Derek's bedroom ceiling. As the Demogorgon crawls in and heads for the bed, Lucas throws some water grenades to distract it and jumps over the trap. The Demogorgon falls in the trap, and Nancy shoots it with a tracking device. The monster gets scared and retreats back through the portal. The group jumps in the car to chase the signal, but Dustin notices something terrifying. The monster has turned around. It isn't running away anymore. It's coming straight for the barn where Will, Joyce, Nancy, and Turnbow's families are hiding. Things are getting chaotic when Derek regains consciousness. Just as Will has a terrifying vision, the Demogorgon is coming. Meanwhile, on the Upside Down, Holly follows her map to a rock wall. She finds a small opening, but instead of Henry, she sees a mysterious figure. She tries to hide but falls, and the person finds her. It's our lovely Max, alive and smiling. And the episode 3 ends right here. Episode 4 kicks off in the local barn. Will knows the Demogorgon is closing in, and he's frantically trying to get everyone out, but things are getting chaotic. Derek wasn't supposed to be conscious, and he's absolutely terrified. Joyce tries to calm down Derek, but he's convinced that Mr. Whatsit is the only one telling the truth. Even with the world ending, Derek doesn't trust them. He runs away and climbs to the top of a barn just as Will has a terrifying vision. A monster's coming. Suddenly, a Demogorgon bursts in. Joyce bravely fights it off with an axe until Steve, Dustin, Nancy, and Jonathan arrive. They actually hit the monster with Steve's car. The creature opens a portal to escape, and Steve tries to drive right through it. It's a bumpy ride. The group is arguing, the atmosphere is thick with spores, and they can't see a thing. And then they smash into a massive wall. It's the same barrier Hopper and Eleven encountered earlier. Back in the real world, things go from bad to worse. Dr. K's military forces are kidnapping kids, thinking Eleven is the one snatching them. They're using the children as bait in a high-security quarantine zone. Will's group realizes they need to rescue these kids before Vecna gets them. Will has a vision. Vecna needs 12 specific children to reshape the world. Meanwhile, deep in the memory realm, Holly Wheeler has found Max Mayfield. Max cleans up Holly's scraped knee and takes her to a secret cave. She explains that she wrote the note to rescue Holly. To make Holly feel safe, Max tells a funny story about Mike trying to get a bright orange mohawk when he was younger. Max then explains the scary truth. They're trapped inside Vecna's memories. Max describes how she's been wandering through different moments in time since the end of Season 4. She says that when a person is trapped here, they have 3 choices: give up and die, accept being a prisoner, or try to escape. Max chose to escape. She spent a long time lost in the labyrinth of memories until she heard her favorite song running up that hill. The music acted like a lighthouse, guiding her through Vecna's darkest thoughts. She even saw a portal leading back to her hospital bed in Lucas, but it closed before she could reach it. She eventually found this cave, a place Vecna is too scared to enter. Now that Holly's there, Max has a plan for both of them to get out, but Holly has to go back to Henry for a little while so he doesn't realize they're talking. On the other hand, Hopper and Eleven are currently on the outskirts of a creepy military base within the Upside Down. Eleven wants to use the Upside Down's lightning as cover to jump the fence, but Hopper is hesitant. At that moment, they hear Dustin's voice via radio and set him to come cemetery at their place for help. After some moment, Dustin realized the wall isn't just a random barrier. He uses his math skills to figure out it's a giant circle surrounding all of Hawkins. And what's at the dead center of that circle? The Hawkins lab, the place where all this madness started. While Nancy and the crew head for the lab, Hopper finally lets Eleven take the lead. She's been training for this. She leaps the fence, takes out a guard, and lets Hopper in. They find a scientist and demand to know where the door is. He claims he knows nothing, so Hopper knocks him out. Eleven tries to use her powers to force the door open, but the lab is prepared. They trigger a high-frequency sonic alarm, Eleven's kryptonite. It's a physical assault on her brain, leaving her completely debilitated. As Hopper drags a weakened Eleven to safety, the villainous Dr. K and a squad of soldiers surround them. Hopper fights like a man possessed, but he's eventually pinned down by a massive tentacle arm from an upside-down monster. Dr. K starts mocking 11, calling her Jane and telling her she's too weak to save anyone. But Dr. K made one huge mistake. She underestimated Hopper. He breaks free from the monster's grip and corners the doctor. She sneers that the cavalry is coming, but Hopper knocks her cold anyway. Knowing they're out of time, Hopper gives 11 a heartbreaking order: find Dustin and the others. 11 notices Hopper is rigged with dynamite, a failsafe to take out Vecna even if it costs him his life. He tells her how proud he is of her and locks her out for her own safety. But just as the situation looks hopeless, the sonic frequency cuts out. The door swings open, and it's Hopper. He didn't just stop the noise, he found what Dr. K was hiding. It wasn't Vecna, it was number 8, 11's sister, Callie. In the real world, to save the children, Mike and Will comes up with a tunnel mission. Derek sends Mike undercover into the military base to find the kids. Derek finds a secret meeting spot in a bathroom where the tunnels connect and starts asking the other children about Mr. What's-It. Finally, a young girl confirms that the friend they've all been seeing is actually Henry. The team begins digging secret tunnels to reach the building where the military is holding the children. While they work, Will and Robin have a deep conversation. Robin talks about her old crush and how she used to look for answers in the wrong places. She explains that she only felt truly free when she stopped being afraid and embraced who she really was. Her words hit home for Will, who has spent years feeling different and scared. As Lucas and Mike dig, they accidentally hit a pipe and have to change direction. Despite the setback, they start moving children through the tunnels to Murray's getaway truck. They manage to save 5 kids, but then disaster strikes. A student named Ashley sees Mike and Will and alerts the guards. The military quickly captures Will, Mike, Derek, and Joyce. Suddenly, total chaos breaks out. Portals rip open and demogorgons swarm the base, attacking everyone. Then, Vecna himself steps through a portal. He's more powerful than ever. The soldiers' bullets don't even slow him down. He easily tosses the guards aside. Murray's van is attacked. Lucas is cornered in the tunnels. When Joyce tries to protect Will, Vecna tosses Joyce aside like a rag doll and levitates Will into the air. He mocks Will, calling him his first test subject, and explaining that he plans to use the children of Hawkins as vessels to rebuild the world. Surprisingly, Vecna drops Will and disappears back into the Upside Down and prepares to let his demogorgons finish off Mike, Lucas, and Robin. In that moment, he stops being a victim and chooses to fight. He closes his eyes and dives into the hive mind with everything he has. He thinks back to his childhood, his friendship with Mike, and building Castle Byers. In an incredible display of power, Will takes control of the demogorgons attacking his friends. He freezes them in midair and forces the monsters to snap their own limbs. He stops himself before he becomes as brutal as Vecna, but the effort leaves him exhausted. As he collapses with blood trickling from his nose, just like 11, it is finally confirmed. Will has a powerful, unique connection to the Upside Down that might be the only thing capable of stopping Vecna for good. And that is where Episode 4 ends. Episode 5 starts right where we left off. Will snaps out of his vision, gasping for air. His mom, Joyce, and Mike rush to him. They are totally blown away by what he just did. He used his mind to tap into the monster's mind. But instead of feeling like a hero, Will looks like his heart is breaking. He tells them Vecna has all the 12 children, and they are not coming back. Will feels like he failed because he couldn't physically pull the other kids out of Vecna's hand. Joyce and Mike try to tell him that he's the only reason they're even alive right now, but Will is just too disappointed in himself to hear it. The emotional moment is cut short by a terrifying sound of military helicopters. The group knows they can't stay in the open, so they dive into the underground. While moving through the tunnel, they find Lucas, and it's a scary sight. Lucas was hit hard by a demogorgon and was hurt pretty badly. As Joyce patches him up, they tell him what Will did. Lucas is amazed. Just like Mike, he looks at Will and calls him a wizard. It's a cool callback to their D&D games, but the situation is grim. They talk about how the other kids are gone and how they have no way to reach Vecna anymore since all the demogorgons seem to be gone. The group finally reaches near the radio station. Before they go in, Joyce pulls Will aside. In a really sweet moment, she apologizes for ever doubting him. She tells him she is so proud, but then she says she has an idea. She believes that if Will can do the impossible once, he can do it again. She wants him to use his new powers to go back into the hive mind, find Vecna, and kill him once and for all. Will is terrified and says it's not possible, but Joyce looks him in the eye and says, "What you just did wasn't possible either, but you did it anyway." Inside the radio station, they reunite with Erica, Robin, and Murray. When the others hear about Will's wizard powers, they're all shocked and impressed. They start throwing all this praise at Will, but he's really uncomfortable with it. He doesn't feel like a hero. Joyce explains her theory about Will going one-on-one with Vecna, but there's a big problem. Dustin is missing. Dustin is the one who built the machine, the transmitter, that can find where the hive is located. Without him, they're flying blind, and they know they're running out of time. And then Lucas and Erica come up with a wild plan. Erica will find their science teacher, Mr. Clark, for the transmitter, and Lucas suggests they take a dead Demogorgon and use the radio tower's electricity to shock it back to life like Frankenstein. They hope this will give Will a bridge to talk to the hive.
Now, the camera shifts to Henry's world. He has all the kidnapped kids in a circle and is telling them a huge lie. He tells them their families will be back soon and that he's actually the one saving the world from danger. Most of the kids are too scared to move, but Holly Wheeler knows he's lying. Henry tells them to enjoy today because tomorrow they start working. Holly realizes they're on borrowed time. Henry also warns them, whatever you do not go into the woods. Holly isn't a rule follower. She sees a chance and sneaks out into the woods anyway. She finds Max, who's hiding and very worried. Max thinks Holly was followed, but Holly says she's safe. She tells Max everything that's happening and says they have to escape right now. Max knew things were bad, but she didn't realize they were this close to working for Vecna. Suddenly, they hear a noise. It turns out Holly was followed by Derek. Holly doesn't know that Derek has been helping Lucas and Mike in the real world. When she asks what he's doing there, Derek reveals he's basically best friends with her brother Mike and knows Joyce, Will, and Lucas. He tells the girls he didn't believe a word of Henry's speech either. When he saw Holly sneak away, he followed her to help. The girls don't want him coming with them, but they give him a job. They need old Derek, the mean one, to come back. They want him to go back and cause a huge distraction to keep Henry busy so the girls can find a way out. They give him a map to a cave where he can hide safely afterward. Meanwhile, Hopper, 11, and Collie finally escape the military base in the Upside Down. Thanks to Collie's power to make people see things that aren't there, they trick Dr. K and get away. They head to a church where they expect to find Dustin, but it's empty. 11 is really angry at Hopper. She found out he was willing to be a suicide bomber to save them. She feels like he still doesn't trust her to be strong enough to win the fight. Hopper tries to explain he was just being a dad, but 11 isn't having it. While Hopper tries to use the radio to find Dustin, 11 and Collie have a deep talk. Collie tells 11 the horrible truth about what happened to her after she was kidnapped. She says a doctor named Dr. K was using her blood. It was so much that she thought the doctor was a vampire. Eventually, Collie escaped from a room and found something even scarier. Rooms full of pregnant women being injected with Collie's blood. Their bodies were rejecting it. Collie realizes that their powers actually came from Henry's blood being put into their mothers. She tells 11 that 11 is the only one as strong as Henry, and that's why Dr. K will never stop hunting her. 11 is overwhelmed and goes back to Hopper. Back at the upside-down version of Hawkins' lab, things are falling apart. Dustin is being really grumpy, Steve and Jonathan are arguing, and Nancy is just desperate to find her sister. Dustin has a theory that there is a dark magic generator in the lab that creates a shield around Vecna. They split up. Nancy goes with Jonathan, and Steve goes with Dustin. Nancy and Jonathan have a huge argument about their relationship. Nancy wants Jonathan to grow up and take things seriously. But the real explosion happens with Steve and Dustin. Steve finally tells Dustin that he needs to stop acting like a jerk. They get into a huge fight about Eddie Munson. Steve tells Dustin that Eddie wasn't a hero. He was an idiot who got himself killed for nothing. Dustin, who loved Eddie, loses his mind and starts attacking Steve. Steve doesn't fight back, he just defends himself and eventually walks away, saying he's done. But this fight leads to a discovery. While Dustin is crying and cleaning himself up, he finds a secret room with scientific papers and a map that looks just like the one he drew. On the roof of the lab, Nancy and Jonathan find a giant glowing ball of energy, an orb. It looks like the shield generator Dustin talked about. Back in the secret room, Dustin realizes something terrifying. The orb is a trap. If they touch it or shoot it, they will die. He tries to contact Jonathan via radio, but Dustin's radio antenna was broken during the fight with Steve. Nancy is standing right in front of the orb with a shotgun, ready to pull the trigger, and she can't hear Dustin's warnings. Back at the radio station, they will execute Lucas's plan, the Frankenstein one. Torrin turns up the power, and the monster actually starts moving. Will taps into its mind. He doesn't see Vecna first. He hears Derek talking to Holly, and Max is alive, but he realizes the girls are in trouble. In Vecna's world, Derek's distraction fails. Henry catches him and forces him to tell the truth about where Max and Holly are, or he will finish his family. Henry finds the girls just as they are about to escape through a memory door. He grabs Max by the throat. He's been waiting 2 years to finish her off. But suddenly, Will intervenes. Using the Frankenstein monster as a link, Will speaks through Vecna's own mouth. He uses his mind power to snap Vecna's leg. He yells at the girls to run, and they take off. But Henry is too strong. He fights back and blasts Will out of his head. The episode ends in total chaos. The dead monster explodes, and a giant hurricane of dark energy starts swirling around the tower. Will falls to the floor, totally passed out. His friends are terrified. And the episode 5 ends right here.
Episode 6 begins in the Upside Down. Dustin rushes up the stairs, desperately trying to get Jonathan and Nancy's attention. His friend runs after him, trying to pull him back. Dustin shouts at them to stop and warns them not to touch anything. But the warning comes too late. Nancy had already fired her gun. Nothing happens. There was no reaction at all. Confused, Jonathan asks if she missed the shot. Before they can react, something terrifying begins to form nearby. A massive ball of energy starts gathering in the air, growing larger by the second. It crackles violently with electricity. Realizing the danger, Jonathan and Nancy turn and try to escape. Suddenly, the energy sphere explodes. The blast slams into them, throwing them backward and knocking them unconscious. Powerful shockwaves surge outward, tearing through the Upside Down. The waves race across the city and spread around the globe. Even at the wall, Hopper, 11, and Kali stand frozen in disbelief as the energy ripples across its surface in front of their eyes. At 5 a.m., Erica and Murray break into Mr. Clark's house. Erica quickly explains that Dustin is in serious danger and that they need a telemetry tracker to find him. At first, he's uncomfortable with the idea and refuses to help, calling it inappropriate as he tries to shut the door in their faces. But Erica stops him and makes it clear that Dustin's life is on the line, and this is the only way they can help. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, he finally agrees to help them. Meanwhile, Steve rushes to Dustin, who is lying helpless on the ground after being struck by the sphere's shockwaves. He asks if the generator caused the explosion, but Dustin admits he was wrong and made a terrible mistake. He explained that after leaving, he discovered Brenner's journal, which revealed that the key to destroying the wall was hidden in the lab. It was not a shield generator, not black magic, not something Vecna created. It was science. The journal described it as exotic matter, a single, powerful energy source that holds our world together. Dustin believes Nancy accidentally triggered it when she fired her gun. Elsewhere, Jonathan and Nancy remain unconscious, slowly being pulled toward the sphere's deadly matter. When Steve asks why crossing the wall was such a terrible idea, Dustin explains that Vecna did not build the wall, meaning Vecna is not on the other side. Holly and the other kids are not there either. There is nothing beyond the wall but death. Nearby, a car that crashed into the wall stops abruptly in front of Hopper, 11, and Kali before it can be consumed. The three stare at it in shock, but suddenly the wall opens wider, swallowing everything in its path. Trees, gravestones, earth, and debris are dragged into the barrier by its immense pull. Realizing the danger, Hopper urgently tells 11 that they have to leave. Dustin continues explaining to Steve that everything they believed about the Upside Down was completely wrong. As the danger grows, 11 spots a portal they can escape through. Using her powers, she pushes back the debris and clears their path. Meanwhile, Dustin tells Steve that the Upside Down is actually a wormhole, a bridge connecting 2 points across space and time. Struggling to grasp the idea, Steve asks what would happen if the wormhole collapsed. With fear written across his face, Dustin answers that it would collapse with them and with everyone else. Max and Holly burst out of the door and run straight toward the cave. Inside, Max tries to calm Holly, assuring her that they are safe there and that nothing can hurt them. But Holly senses danger and warns that Vecna is coming. Moments later, Vecna appears, limping as he approaches the cave. The girls retreat deeper inside, away from the entrance. Vecna calls out to Holly, warning her to stop or Max will be hurt. He claims he understands that she believes Max is her friend, but insists she is being deceived. Holly shouts back that she does not believe him, saying she has seen who he truly is and calling him a disgusting monster. Vecna then threatens that if she does not come with him immediately and join the other children, he will have no choice but to hurt Max and may even kill her. Max interrupts, taunting him by saying he is afraid of the cave and calling him a coward. Vecna calmly responds that there are other ways to reach her now, and warns Holly that once her friend begins to suffer, she will have to choose, either return with him or watch her new friend die. As Henry walks away from the cave entrance, everything suddenly goes dark. When Will wakes up, he realizes he is tied up, trapped in Vecna's lair with no way to escape. He watches in fear as Vecna slowly approaches, asking if he remembers this place and whether it brings back painful memories. Will tells him that Max and Holly escaped and mocks him, asking if his injured legs slowed him down. Vecna calmly replies, saying Will should not think he is clever, reminding him that everything that happened was possible only because Will invited him in. He calls Will his vessel, his spy, and his architect. Vecna explains that the tunnels were not random at all, but were created by Will himself every night while he slept. He tells Will that there is great power inside him, but warns him not to forget that all of it belongs to Vecna, who is now stronger than ever. He declares that the time has come to bring his vessels home, though not yet, since Max still has one of them. Vecna says there are ways to lure a fox from its den, and Will help him one last time by acting as his spy again. As Will tries to resist, Vecna raises his hand, warning that the more he fights back, the more pain he will feel. Instantly, Will screams as blood begins to stream from his eyes. Holly and Max talk quietly about why Vecna refuses to enter the cave. Holly tells Max that she spent 2 long years trapped there doing nothing, so she should at least have some idea why he stays away. Max explains that it may be a place he's afraid to face because of how traumatic it is for him. Holly realizes that this painful memory might also be our way out. She suggests that just as the prison memories once freed them, they could escape by leaving the cave through a massive opening that leads into a vast desert of sand. Max argues that they should stay where they are and wait for 11 to rescue them, but Holly refuses, saying she does not believe Vecna was lying when he claimed there were other ways to reach her. Convinced that staying is too dangerous, she insists they find another way out and leave the cave. 11 and Hopper return to the house where Will's mother and Mike are waiting. 11 introduces Kalia to everyone, explaining that she is her sister and that the story behind it is a long one. Hopper asks about the rest of the group, and they all head inside the house together. Inside, 11 notices Will lying asleep and completely unresponsive. Worried, Will's mother turns to 11 and asks if she thinks they can still find her son.
Meanwhile, Dustin and Steve desperately search for a way to stop the wormhole. Steve asks Dustin how long it usually takes for a wormhole to collapse. Dustin admits that he always believed it would happen instantly, but now he realizes that it is taking longer than expected. Running out of options, Steve grabs the communicator and rushes off, hoping to pick up a signal that can lead him to his friends. Dustin follows close behind, warning Steve that the area could be a deadly trap where the normal laws of physics no longer apply. High up in the building, Steve asks Nancy if she's picking up the signal, but suddenly they realize they are directly beneath the massive energy sphere. Meanwhile, Jonathan wakes to find everything around him being swallowed by a strange white liquid. Panicked, he shakes Nancy awake so they can try to escape. They rush to a nearby door and struggle to open it, but it won't budge. Meanwhile, 11 searches desperately for Will, with Collie watching her closely. Hopper tending to his injuries, he asks Mike if Nancy left any note or clue at the church, but Mike replies that she left absolutely nothing. Hopper mutters that this either means they're a bunch of inconsiderate fools or that they were captured by the military. Mike, trying to ease his own worry, admits he leans toward the inconsiderate fools theory. Suddenly, Collie bursts in, saying 11 is struggling and she hasn't found anything. Hopper snaps, questioning why she's acting like an expert on 11 when she's only known her for a day and a half. Collie defends herself, insisting that she knew 11 long before Hopper did since they were raised together. Determined, Collie approaches Hopper and asks if he truly wants to know why she's still here, explaining that she doesn't want any of this to happen again. Just then, the lights begin to flicker, and they all rush to check on their friend's safety. At the hospital, Lucas heads to Max's room with the music, but Robin gets stopped by her friend Vicky.
Vicky is terrified because the military police are looking for Robin for stealing drugs earlier. Vicky thinks Robin is a drug addict going through withdrawal. Robin tries to explain that she isn't an addict, but the drugs were part of a plan to fight monsters. Before she can explain more, the military police arrive to arrest her. But the arrest is interrupted when demogorgons suddenly storm the hospital. Back in the desert, Holly spots a distinctive mark on the lid of her telescope. Looking closer, she realizes it matches the shape of the giant hole they had used to escape from the cave. Excited, she rushes back to where they had been. Max asks where she's going, and Holly tells her she has an idea and will explain in a moment. Back at the cave, Holly carefully positions herself so that the telescope lid aligns perfectly with the cave entrance. As she adjusts it, she nearly falls into a hidden hole beneath the floor, but Max quickly helps her out, remarking on how deep the crevice is.
Back in the Upside Down, Steve refuses to give up. He tries to climb a staircase that is literally melting and disintegrating like wax because of the space-time collapse. Dustin has a total emotional breakdown. He screams at Steve to stop, crying, "I can't lose you too." He's finally letting out all the pain of losing Eddie Munson. Steve realizes Dustin's jerk attitude was just a mask for his grief. He climbs down, hugs Dustin, and promises to stay. A second later, the stairs they were going to climb melt away into nothing. They're safe for now.
Meanwhile, Jonathan and Nancy are on the verge of being swallowed by the encroaching liquid. In a moment of heartfelt confession, he declares his love, slips a ring onto her finger, and asks Nancy to marry him. She joyfully accepts, and they hold each other tightly, fully aware that their time may be up. But then they notice that when the ring falls to the ground, it is not consumed by the liquid. Instantly, they realize that the liquid has hardened, and their lives are no longer in immediate danger.
11 prepares to use her powers, settling into a makeshift bathtub filled with water to enhance her abilities and focus on finding Will. Concentrating deeply, she pinpoints his exact location and quickly acts, freeing him from the grasp of Vecna's menacing vine. Max and Holly continue through the cave, noticing a trail of blood along the way. Since it's only a memory, Max reassures Holly that nothing here can actually hurt them. A little further ahead, they encounter a man pointing a gun at them, but what they are witnessing is a flashback to Henry's childhood. The frightened boy raises his hands, insisting he is trying to help, but the man shoots him in the hand, leaving Henry with no choice. In a desperate move, Henry lunges at the man, disarms him, and strikes him with a nearby rock, covering him in blood before taking his briefcase. Seeing this, Max pulls Holly aside, calming her and explaining that it's just a memory and that they are safe. Holly still has questions, wondering why the man shot Henry and whether that is what drove him to become evil. Max admits he doesn't know, but vows to find a way out. As he clears some rocks from their path, he notices a red light and tells Holly she was right. The exit from the prison is there. 11 manages to calm Will, and he quickly tells her that Vecna is after Max and that he tried to stop him but failed. Hearing this, 11 immediately climbs out of the bathtub and rushes to Will's side, explaining the urgency of the situation. Will warns that Vecna is going to kill Max and insists that they need to get to the hospital right away. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Robin warns Lucas that demogorgons are after Max and urges him to take the elevator down to the basement where they'll have a chance to confront it. As the lights begin to flicker, Lucas quickly leads his friends toward the elevator, with the demons close behind. Just as they step inside, one of the demons lunges at them, and Lucas reacts quickly, kicking it away before the elevator doors shut. In the basement, Lucas and Max reunite with Robin and Vicky, but the demons search for them, and they are forced to hide, fearing the worst. Suddenly, a washing machine starts running, catching the demons' attention. Inside it is an oxygen tank, which explodes, destroying the approaching demon and giving them a brief moment of safety. This 400 IQ was done by Karen Wheeler. Holly and Max stand at the prison exit, where Max notices a portal that will take her back to where Lucas is. Holly wants to go near it too, but Max tells her that this exit is meant for her. It leads to Max's body, not hers, and that she must find her own way out. Holly asks if she has to do it alone, and Max explains that all she needs is to connect with something powerful in the real world, something strong, meaningful, and comforting, something that gives her hope and strength. She urges her to remember what she means to her. Holly protests, saying she doesn't mean anything important because she's just a toy. Max counters, asking why, if she's just a toy, she never puts her down anymore. She recalls feeling helpless when her mother was attacked, and when Henry attacked her.
admitting there was nothing heroic about being unable to help. Max reassures her that even if she had wanted to, she couldn't have. She couldn't have defeated those monsters with a poker. Max reminds her of the important things she's forgotten, how he ventured into the woods despite the danger, followed her to the cave without reason to trust her, and how she faced danger without hesitation when he asked her to go back to Henry. Thanks to Holly, Max says she's going to see her people again and that she has saved her. Max emphasizes that heroic Holly isn't just a toy, it's herself. At that moment, Holly's portal opens, sharing a heartfelt hug and saying goodbye, and finally the two run to their respective exits. Episode 6 ends right here. Episode 7 opens with Max finally waking up beside Lucas and the rest of their friends. She admits that her body still feels weak and unresponsive, explaining that being unconscious for so long left her muscles unable to function properly. Lucas tells her that he never once believed she was truly gone. Max reassures him, revealing that even while trapped in the darkness, she could still see him sitting by her side, playing her favorite song. But now she understands something important. It wasn't the music that kept her alive. It was Lucas, refusing to give up and continuing to fight for her. Soon after, Mike and Eleven rush in, relieved and overjoyed to see Max awake again. Robin then jumps in, explaining how they were chased relentlessly by the monsters and came dangerously close to death until Mike's mother showed up and managed to take them down. As the moment settles, Max grows serious and warns everyone that Vecna will not take her escape lightly, and once he realizes she slipped out of his control, his anger will be unstoppable. At the same time, Holly regains consciousness inside Vecna's lair, where she sees her classmates trapped and restrained just as she is. Gathering all the strength she has left, she fights through the psychic hold and tears herself free from the living material binding her. From where she stands, she gets a clear look at Vecna in his terrifying form, positioned at the heart of the nest. She immediately tries to escape, only to realize there is nowhere to run as she is stuck in a barren, lifeless world. Moments later, Vecna becomes aware that the girl has finally awakened. The focus then moves to the Upside Down, where Jonathan repeatedly tries to force the doors open until Nancy stops him. She warns that if he gets hurt, they will have no hope of getting out alive. Without warning, the wall starts shaking intensely, and a crack suddenly forms, allowing their friends to break through and rescue them. Steve explains that they were unable to communicate earlier because the radio antenna was damaged during the trip. Meanwhile, Dustin reveals Dr. Brenner's notebook from 1983, which contains crucial details about how the portals were created and what they truly are, although they are still working to fully understand the information. To make matters worse, they also deliver the disturbing news that Holly is nowhere to be found on the other side of the wall. At the same time, Holly sprints forward with every ounce of strength she has, but stumbles when she hits a dip in the ground. When she looks closer, Max's warning about the portals Vecna created across the town comes rushing back to her. Realizing what it might be, she starts tearing away the stones to widen the rift. When she notices Vecna closing in on her, she makes a split-second decision and dives into the opening. Instantly, she is falling from the sky, and her terrified screams echo loudly enough for the others to hear. Back in the real world, Mr. Clark, Murray, and Erica stand by the edge of the lake, using balloons in an attempt to catch a radio signal that could lead them to Dustin. After 6 long hours with no success, they're on the verge of giving up, but Mr. Clark comes up with a plan, makes a last-second decision, and cuts the tether, letting the balloon rise higher into the sky. At last, the increased height allows them to lock onto the correct frequency and pick up the signal. Still shaken by everything that has happened, Will thinks back to his final encounter with Vecna, when he was commanded to act as a spy one last time. At that moment, his mother arrives with the news that Max has finally regained consciousness. Despite this, Will remains deeply afraid, knowing from Lucas that today is the day Vecna plans to attack. He understands better than anyone that he cannot stand up to him, which is exactly why Vecna selected him as a vessel, to channel his power, observe others, and slowly spread his influence. Night after night, Will unknowingly linked himself to the hive mind, controlling the vines to carve tunnels and connect the two worlds. Joyce tries her best to comfort him, but Will is overwhelmed and breaks down in tears. Meanwhile, Max shares with the group what she experienced with Holly and the warning she gave about going back home. Soon after, Erica contacts Lucas with the update that they can now track the others through the radio frequencies. However, the growing military presence leaves them with little time, forcing them to flee quickly. Despite being injured, Karen insists on joining the fight, but Mike stops her, urging her to trust him and the others instead. He promises that they will save his sister, just as they once saved Will. Soon after, the entire group comes back together just as they succeed in tracking down Dustin through the radio signal. Mike tells him that it seems Holly managed to break free from Vecna and is trying to make her way home, meaning they have to reach her as soon as possible. However, Dustin drops a surprising revelation. They have already located the girl. Even so, moving through the facility proves impossible, as the military has cameras watching every corner. Mr. Clark proposes blocking the surveillance feed, but 11 immediately solves the problem by using her powers to destroy the cameras. With the path cleared, she once again uses her abilities to lift the massive metal plates sealing the dimensional openings. After passing through the rift, they quickly reunite with the other team on the opposite side. Nancy explains that they heard the girl screaming just as she arrived, but before she could even fully touch down in that world, Vecna seized her again and pulled her away. At the same time, he drags the child back into his lair, imprisoning her once more within the living tissue that binds her directly to him. As they begin discussing their next plan, Will reaches the field and reunites with Max, who jokingly calls him a wizard. Later, back at their base, Max is filled with guilt over leaving Holly behind, but Lucas reassures her that attempting a rescue at that moment would have ended in disaster. Dustin then cuts in, revealing that he knows exactly where Holly is being held, though he warns that reaching her will be far more difficult than it sounds. He explains that a massive interdimensional bridge formed from exotic matter is what keeps the rift stable, and that this structure is buried deep within the heart of the lab. Beyond this bridge lies a strange, empty dimension where the monsters exist, including Vecna himself. Putting the pieces together, Robin realizes that Vecna has been hiding high above us all along. Will adds that Vecna targets children to control their minds and strengthen his abilities. Drawing from her own encounter, Max now understands Vecna's true objective, to merge every world into a single reality. Lucas finishes by noting that if their theory is correct, Vecna is preparing to make his final move today. At the same time, Henry, also known as Vecna, invades the children's minds to prove that he has taken Holly back. He twists the truth, claiming that Holly ran away by her own choice because of Max's guidance, portraying Max as a hidden villain. Through his lies, Vecna convinces the children that returning to the other world will only lead to their deaths. He then pretends to surrender, suggesting that Derek may be right and that the darkness has already won. However, the children refuse to lose hope. Instead, they decide to reach out to Holly together, determined to help her understand the truth and stand with them. Later, when the military discovers that their facility has been breached and the metal plates had been forced open, they quickly realize that 11 is responsible. As a result, they make the decision to pursue her to the other side. Meanwhile, Hopper suggests they steal a helicopter to reach Vecna's realm by flying through the rift. The group quickly starts arguing, with some insisting the plan is far too dangerous. Then Steve proposes an alternative, using their radio tower. He explains that they should wait for the precise moment when Vecna begins merging the worlds, as this will bring them close enough to cross directly into the prison dimension. Once inside, 11 will confront Vecna in his mind, while Kali and Max volunteer to guide her, drawing on their intimate knowledge of every corner of that world. Later, Holly regains consciousness and finds herself surrounded by the other children, who greet her with warm smiles. They insist that Vecna only wants to protect them. Holly tries to make them understand that Vecna is actually a monster, keeping them trapped in his mind where nothing around them is real. Spotting Derek, she urges him to help reveal the truth, but the boy clings to what he saw and chooses to believe Vecna's deception. Realizing she is outnumbered, Holly pretends to go along with them, feigning regret. As soon as an opportunity presents itself, she pushes the other children aside in an attempt to clear a path toward the exit. However, being overwhelmed, she is quickly overpowered and ends up tumbling down the stairs. In the real world, the team splits up to take their assigned positions. While 11 works on retrieving the truck they'll use for the mission, Hopper speaks with Joyce, noting that the girl seems fearless, almost invincible. He senses that Joyce doubts his faith in 11. Despite this, Hopper emphasizes that his only priority is ensuring 11 returns safely from the other side. He also warns that Kali makes a single mistake, he won't hesitate to act against her. Joyce tries to soothe him, reminding Hopper that this is their final mission. At the headquarters, Max explains to Will that she survived inside Vecna's mind by finding a hidden cave tied to an old, fearful memory. Meanwhile, the rest of the team prepares for the impending battle. Noticing that most of them have little experience with guns, Dustin decides to arm Steve with homemade spears for the fight. Shortly after, Steve finds a quiet moment to apologize to Dustin for the harsh words he had said earlier. He admits that his anger came from missing his best friend so much. Dustin accepts the apology, and the two of them share a heartfelt brotherly hug to solidify their reconciliation. Far away, Erica keeps a careful watch over the military base. As soon as the gates swing open, she signals to replicate the frequency that controls the security systems. Meanwhile, Murray struggles with engine problems in the truck. Kali and 11 connect their minds to communicate. 11 points out that destroying the bridge would finally put an end to the lab and Dr. K's experiments. Kali, however, warns that they could always rebuild it and the experiments would continue. 11 suggests they will escape, but Kali reminds her that it's only a matter of time before they are discovered and their friends are killed, just as it happened to her. She explains that Dr. K would simply recapture her, use her blood to create more gifted children, and open new portals. A relentless, cruel cycle will be going on. Yet Kali says there is a way to end it. If they kill Vecna, rescue the children, and remain on the other side, they could vanish along with that world, putting a stop to everything. Their conversation is abruptly interrupted when the truck finally roars to life. As the team gets into position and loads the gear for the upcoming battle, Will approaches his mother to share the full truth. He explains that when Vecna attacks, he twists a person's mind against them, causing pain from within. Will recounts that he was able to resist in the past by holding on to the positive memories of his childhood, which allowed him to take control and defeat the creatures. But when he tried the same tactic against Vecna, the entity overpowered him, forcing him to witness the most terrifying visions he had ever seen. He realizes that Vecna knows all his secrets, but now, thanks to Max, he understands that even Vecna can feel fear, and with this knowledge, Will knows he can fight back. Feeling he must first confide in his mother, he begins to share his secret, but their conversation is interrupted when Mike announces they have only 5 minutes before departure. Determined, Will decides to tell the truth to the entire team so they can face what's coming together. Once everyone is gathered, he admits that he has always felt different but pretended to be like everyone else to fit in. He explains that he isn't attracted to women. He explains that Vecna once showed him a future where revealing this truth caused his friends to treat him differently, eventually isolating him and leaving him alone. Joyce reassures him that she will never abandon him, and one by one his friends echo the sentiment, enveloping him in a group hug. Turning to 11, Will says they cannot defeat Vecna without him, and declares that he is ready to join the fight, no longer gripped by fear. As night falls, the team speeds toward the military base in the truck, charging at full throttle. The soldiers immediately open fire, but Hopper fights back, taking down several of them from his position. Dr. K and the remaining troops emerge to confront the group, only for Nancy to spring into action, joining the gunfight to provide covering fire. With Hopper safely inside the truck, the team seizes the moment and slips through the rifts, crossing over to the other side of the portal. The air is heavy with dark energy, signaling that the ultimate confrontation is near. Meanwhile, within Henry's mind, he and the children spend the night preparing and strengthening their bond for the final assault. And episode 7 ends right here.
The final episode of the series kicks off with ultimate chaos. The army is deployed to a hangar after reports of multiple gate failures and massive breaches torn through the structure. Amid the chaos, a commander and one of his men escort the on-duty security guard away for interrogation. Inside a confined room, the soldier seizes the guard by his uniform and slams him back against a metal cell. Terrified and shaking, the guard insists he did nothing wrong and swears he never touched the controls. Furious over the damage and the apparent security lapse, the soldier demands to know whether the gates are supposed to open on their own, as if by some kind of magic. Unlike his subordinate, Dr. K remains calm. She questions whether the incident could be the result of an anomaly, something unusual but not necessarily caused by human error. As the operation is set into motion, the team makes their final preparations. They're driven to the site in a truck, and Murray swings open the back door, urging everyone to move fast, warning that an entire dimension is on the verge of collapsing on them. Hopper steps out first, followed closely by the others. Before moving on, Mike pauses 11 and watches her face, quietly asking if she's okay. She meets his eyes and gives a small nod. Mike admits the plan is reckless and that for it to work, everything has to fall into place, even though so much could and likely will go wrong. Still, he tells her he believes they can succeed. Overwhelmed by his words, 11 pulls him to a tight embrace, holding back tears. As 11 steps away from the vehicle, she looks back at Mike one last time and smiles before joining Murray, Kali, and Hopper. From a distance, Sergeant Akers watches them through binoculars, surrounded by armed soldiers, and declares that their targets are in sight. One of the soldiers beside him begins reporting the situation over a walkie-talkie, but the device is suddenly yanked from his hand.
He's sharply questioned about what he thinks he's doing. The soldier explains he was trying to alert Dr. K, only to be cut off with a remark that she has a god complex and that he should stay quiet. At the same time, Henry comes face to face with the children he has taken captive. All of them are trapped in a dreamlike state, held there by Vecna's ritual. Holly is among them. Within her mind, she and the others are restrained, completely subject to Vecna's will, as everything unfolds exactly the way he intended. High above, at the top of the church, the science teacher sits with Erica. He quietly asks if she thinks the others will be all right. She reassures him they're safe for the moment, though the most difficult part is still ahead. The teacher lowers himself onto the step beside her, and Erica asks how he's holding up. Confused by the question, he asks what she means. With complete certainty, Erica talks about helping save the world and the role she's playing in it. Her confidence eases his nerves, and he admits he's actually feeling pretty good. They share a smile, but it's cut short when a line of military vehicles pulls up outside the church. Armed soldiers storm into the church, while Dr. K slips toward the side entrance, where she spots a WSQ truck. Within the WSQ office, Vicky detects a sudden disturbance in the energy readings. Sensing something is wrong, she grabs a walkie-talkie and contacts Robin, asking her to let her know whether the interference was caused by their team and not those mutant lunatics. Robin answers the call and reassures Vicky that it was indeed them, telling her not to worry. When the group reaches the base of the tower, Lucas scans the area through his binoculars and reports that he sees no evidence of a hostile moving planet. Jonathan points out that the task ahead won't be quick and suggests they divide into two teams, ascending the structure carefully using both stairwells. Following his lead, the group splits up and begins their slow ascent up the towering structure. At the same time, Murray pours gasoline into a generator, working quickly to bring it online. Nearby, Hopper moves through the bunker's corridors with Eleven and Kali. Kali gently asks Eleven if she's all right, but Eleven can only respond with a silent nod as she steps into a room filled with painful memories of being a child treated like nothing more than a test subject, and of the moment she was placed inside the water tank when the nightmare truly began. Moments later, Murray throws a few switches and power hums back into the facility. Hopper thanks him and instructs him to head up to the roof, warning him to handle the C4 carefully so it doesn't detonate while they're still inside. He tells him to take position and hold fire, stressing that no one is to attack yet. Once he receives confirmation that the planet is near, he'll initiate 3 rapid strikes while 11 focuses on dealing with Henry. Hopper adds that he's counting on Dustin being right and that the planet will stop moving. 11 asks Hopper not to pull her out if something goes wrong, not until he's certain Henry has been destroyed. Hopper looks her directly in the eyes and asks for her word, saying that if the plan somehow succeeds, they'll walk away and Dr. Kelly's agenda can be dealt with later. 11 agrees with a nod, accepting the promise. With that, she readies herself to enter the tank, and Hopper gives the final order for her to end this once and for all. Back at the WSQ office, Vicky impatiently asks Max why everything is taking so long. Max answers honestly that she has no idea. Clearly on edge, Vicky remarks that stress always makes her hungry and decides to grab something to eat, asking Max if she wants anything. Max declines at first. Vicky heads toward the kitchen, but moments later, Max reconsiders and calls out asking her to bring something after all. When she looks down the hallway in the direction Vicky went, she realizes Vicky is no longer there. Alarmed, Max pushes her chair forward and begins moving down the hall. Her body feels different. She looks down at her hands, then cautiously tries to stand. To her shock, she succeeds. Taking a few careful steps, she notices water pooled across the floor. At the same time, Vicky comes back, but she stops short when she sees Max still seated, staring ahead as if deep in thought. Elsewhere, Max exits the WSQ office and finds herself surrounded by darkness. Suddenly, 11 and Kali approach her, greeting her as they come into view. As the team arrives at the summit of the tower, sudden crimson bursts light up everything around them. From their vantage point, they see a massive planet gradually lowering itself from the sky. On the rooftop, Murray witnesses the same terrifying sight and immediately radios Hopper, confirming that their hypothesis was right and that an enormous planet is moving toward their position. Hopper asks how long they have left, and Murray answers grimly that time is short. Within 11's mental space, the 3 of them watch Vecna sleeping in the darkness of the abyss. Max questions why they don't destroy him right there, and then Kali explains that he can't be harmed in this place. Eleven reaches out, takes Vecna's hand, and the three are pulled into Max's memories from years earlier. Moments later, Eleven feels Hopper's signal, 2 slow taps, warning her that the chasm is on the move. Eleven quickly asks Max whether Henry's house is close. Max admits she doesn't think it is, and says she has no idea how many of them are out there. Callie reminds her that she claimed she could open her mind to them. Max agrees, but points out that her head is filled with millions of memories. Then, a realization hits her. With sudden determination, Max tells Eleven and Callie to follow her as she leads the way. Back in the real world, Vicky stays close, keeping watch over Max's physical body. Suddenly, she spots military vehicles pulling up outside the WSQ office, with Dr. K among them. Soldiers move in and begin sweeping the building, checking every area and believing it to be empty. What they don't realize is that Vicky has already concealed herself and Max behind a concealed wall, hidden away inside a secret room. At the summit of the tower, Lucas realizes that the very tip isn't perfectly lined up with the rift, so if the planet collides with it, the tower will probably collapse. He quickly alerts Hopper to the danger. Hopper asks how much time remains, and Dustin responds, about 30 seconds. Meanwhile, inside Eleven's mind, Max guides them through a memory of a play. When Hopper's signal reaches Eleven again, she tells Max that they can't wait any longer, they need to act now. Max nods, insisting it's the only way forward and urging Eleven to trust her. Meanwhile, the planet slams into the tower with a tremendous force, nearly bringing it down and putting the team in immediate danger. Back inside the memory, once the play concludes, Max instructs the others to pull back the curtain, revealing Henry's mind, where he sits at a table surrounded by the children. Seeing the danger, Eleven intervenes, ripping him from the ritual and throwing him out of a window. The children awaken from their trance, but the team remains exposed. The impact shakes the tower violently, leaving Steve hanging precariously from a platform. Before he can fall, Jonathan reacts swiftly, grabbing his hand and saving him from a deadly drop. Relief washes over the team as they realize they are all alive. Lucas quickly grabs the communicator and reports to Hopper that the chasm has stopped moving and that Eleven succeeded. Back in Henry's mind, Max rushes to embrace Holly, who beams with joy at seeing her, and says, "You came back for me." Max, equally thrilled, promises she will never let Holly go again, but urges that they must all leave together. Suddenly, one of the children screams, warning the others that the monster is coming and that they need to run. Max steps forward calmly, assuring the girl that it's not the monster and that she can trust her. Henry reappears in the house, enraged at the sudden disappearance of everyone, and notices Eleven approaching. She tells him it's over and that the children are safe, with Max far away. Henry grabs her, insisting that everything she needs to know is inside her mind. What he doesn't realize is that Callie has created an invisible curtain, making him believe the space is empty. All the children are hidden behind this illusion with Max. They watch closely as Henry reveals his true form and attempts to extract information from Eleven. Max warns the children that everything Holly said was true and that they must escape immediately. As Henry goes deeper into Eleven's mind, he begins to see through the illusion and rushes to the table, only to find everyone gone. Eleven rises from the floor and hurls Henry onto the table. Callie moves in with a knife to finish him off, stabbing him, but in that instant, Henry vanishes. Both girls exchange a worried glance, realizing the battle isn't truly over. Eleven and Callie reunite with Max and the children. They admit they couldn't kill him, and Max warns that he will likely return to the real world, urging them all to flee to the cave immediately to stay out of harm's way. Meanwhile, in the real world, Hopper is momentarily deceived by Vecna's projection and fires at him, only to realize that his bullets pass harmlessly through the tank where Eleven is standing. Spotting what appears to be blood in the tank, he immediately smashes the glass to pull her out, successfully severing the connection between Eleven, Callie, Max, and Vecna's mind. Before he can finish, Max instructs Holly to lead the children to the cave. Once they are back in reality, Hopper quickly understands that Eleven's injuries were an illusion. Vecna had tricked him. Max, having returned to his own body, lets out a scream that reveals their location. Soldiers, accompanied by Dr. K, soon arrive and locate Vicky and Max. They begin sweeping the structure, discovering the team's setup and operation plans, unintentionally exposing all of their secrets. Meanwhile, the children reach the cave, but Holly immediately notices that Derek is missing. She rushes back to find him. Derek, worn out from the chase, pauses to catch his breath, and a portal suddenly opens behind him. Holly catches up, urging him to snap out of his daze and keep moving. They have to hurry. From the portal, Henry emerges, searching for the children. Just as Holly and Derek are about to enter the cave, Henry seizes Holly's leg. Summoning all his strength, Derek forces Henry to release her, leaving the villain furious and stranded at the cave's entrance. At that moment, Derek showed him his beautiful finger and invited him to taste his fat one. The children embrace, overwhelmed with relief at finally being safe. Yet, despite the weight of his painful childhood memories, Henry's eyes burn with relentless determination as he slowly advances into the cave. The team, standing at the edge of the abyss, sees William suddenly collapse, rendered helpless. Meanwhile, Holly hears Henry's anguished cries and hurries toward the source of the noise. Observing her resilience, how she has overcome her traumatic memories and made it into the cave, Holly commands the children to run, urging them to escape before it's too late. On the other hand, Will alerts the team that he's witnessing visions of Henry. He quickly lets them know that he has located Holly and the other children. Mike asks if he can see 11, Collie, or Max as well, but Will shakes his head, explaining that they are alone. Holly, showing remarkable courage, guides the children toward the opening in the cave. Robin calls out to Will, asking if he can use his powers to slow Vecna, and Will responds that he'll try, but they have to keep moving. Meanwhile, soldiers reach the location where 11, Hopper, and Collie are hiding. A helicopter hovers overhead, emitting a piercing sound that instantly paralyzes 11 and Collie. Hopper reacts quickly, grabbing 11 and carrying her to safety, leaving Collie frozen on the ground. Once she regains a bit of control, 11 asks Hopper about Collie, but he doesn't answer, though he knows he must go back for her. Collie struggles to move, crawling along the ground, but a soldier intercepts her and cruelly tells her that her friends abandoned her. Defiant, she spits in his face, forcing him to call for her capture. Just then, gunfire erupts from Hopper, who takes out the soldiers threatening her. As he moves to rescue Collie, another soldier strikes him on the head, knocking him out. On the other side, the children navigate Henry's memory tunnel, with Holly at the front guiding them. She reassures them that nothing they're about to encounter is real, and that it can't harm them. They just need to keep their eyes on her. Taking the flashlight, she leads the way through the twisting passage. Along the way, Holly retrieves the metal rod she had left behind on her previous visit, a weapon she plans to use to protect herself from Henry if necessary. Meanwhile, Hopper and Collie are ambushed by soldiers. One of them demands that Hopper reveal 11's location, but Hopper calmly insists he doesn't know what they're talking about. In a cruel move, the soldier fires at Collie, who is lying on the ground, taunting her by asking if she thinks this is a game. From the roof, Murray readies the grenades. Before the soldier can strike Collie again, Murray throws a grenade at the helicopter overhead, causing it to explode and destroying the device, emitting the paralyzing sound. The blast momentarily frees Collie, but the soldier still manages to shoot her. 11 reacts instantly, incapacitating everyone in the area and forcing the soldier to accidentally fire himself in the head. Rushing to help Collie, they tried desperately to save her, but despite their efforts, she doesn't survive, and her body remains on the ground. Meanwhile, Holly bravely faces Henry and manages to strike him with the metal rod, leaving a visible wound. Enraged, Henry grabs her and throws her to the ground. Just as he is about to strike again, the weight of his own trauma overtakes him. He is forced to relive the moment from his childhood when he was first shot, and the pain hits him as though he is being shot all over again. Watching this unfold, Will tells his mother that he must be trapped in a memory, admitting that he is terrified by what he's experiencing. On the other side, once they reach the rooftop, 11 and Hopper reunite with Murray. He breathes a sigh of relief, grateful to see them safe. But when he learns what happened to Collie, regret and sorrow flash across his face. 11, peering down at the chasm below, announces that she can jump across. Hopper hesitates at first, doubting the plan. But when 11 looks him in the eye and says, "I trust you," his doubt fades, leaving him momentarily speechless. Meanwhile, Henry, still trapped in the vivid recollection of his past, experiences each memory as though it were happening in real time. It becomes clear that the object in the briefcase was actually Vecna's incarnation, using Henry as a vessel by entering through the bullet wound. The man Henry had once struck with a rock warns him that he must resist Vecna, where the entity will consume him and through him, everything else. Before he can respond, the boy under Vecna's control ends the man's life. Kneeling on the ground, utterly broken, Henry speaks to Will, who assures him that it wasn't truly him. It never was. Henry, desperate and angry, asks Will to leave him alone, but Will insists that this is exactly why the Mind Flayer didn't want him in the cave. Henry needed to forget, to be left behind. Will reminds him that he was just a boy then, a boy who had only been used. He points out that Henry is no different, merely a vessel, and pleads with him to help them fight Vecna. Henry pushes back, insisting it isn't true. He claims he was only shown the decay of the world, never fully controlled by Vecna, and that he could have resisted but chose to align himself. The Mind Flayer awakens suddenly, forcing the team to flee as it lunges toward them with terrifying speed. In an instant, it corners them, but 11, acting quickly, throws a rock that strikes the creature. Seizing the moment, she bravely charges forward, grabs the spider-like form and severs Vecna's connection, initiating a fierce battle. The team quickly formulates a strategy. By damaging the Mind Flayer, they can simultaneously harm Vecna. Dustin suggests splitting their attacks, hitting from both flanks to chip away at its strength. Lucas adds that one of them should lure the creature toward the canyon, while the others position themselves on the rocks above for a coordinated assault. Nancy volunteers first, drawing the Mind Flayer's attention and firing at it while guiding it toward the canyon. The rest of the team opens fire from every angle, shooting, stabbing, and setting the creature ablaze. Each attack inflicts real damage on Vecna himself. 11 channels her powers, subduing him and nearly eliminating him, but Vecna reacts, trying to grab her arm in defense. Just before he can reach her, Will intervenes, taking control of his mind and confronting him directly, declaring that he doesn't scare anyone. With Vecna temporarily subdued, 11 is finally able to strike, bringing him closer to defeat. After the Mind Flayer is defeated, Nancy rushes into the creature, wrapping 11 in a tight embrace, relieved to see her unharmed. Spotting Holly nearby, she hurries over and carefully frees her, managing to wake her up, and the two share a heartfelt hug. Meanwhile, the rest of the team moves quickly to awaken the other children who, overjoyed to be safe, cling gratefully to each of their rescuers. But just as the group catches their breath, Vecna's body stirs, moving slowly on its own. The team cautiously approaches. Will and Joyce arrive, witnessing the unsettling movement firsthand. Filled with righteous fury, Joyce grabs her axe and with a powerful strike severs Vecna's head, reminding him that he had chosen to mess with the wrong family. Brief flashes of traumatic memories ripple through their minds, but they know the nightmare has finally ended. As they begin to leave, Hopper contacts Dustin, who reassures him that everyone is safe. With that, Murray begins the final preparations to detonate the site and destroy what remains. Afterward, the team leaves the site together, guiding the children and, finally, feeling a moment of relief, but it's short-lived. When they reach the military base, the soldiers and army, who had set traps, quickly subdue every member of the group. Mike tries to defend the children, shouting for guidance, asking what he should do to get them out safely. 11 warns him that nothing will end if she stays. Mike, desperate to reason, insists that they will find a way to resolve it. They will fight just as they always have. 11, tearful and determined, asks Mike to thank the rest of the team on her behalf for their kindness and for teaching her the meaning of friendship. Mike pleads with her not to, but 11, almost desperate, insists she needs him to understand her choice. She hugs him tightly, and Mike begs her not to leave. Both of them cry, and 11 quietly confesses that she loves him. They share a final heartfelt kiss before she brings Mike back to reality. 11 then waits as the device detonates. A massive sphere of energy erupts, sending shockwaves that obliterate everything in its path. The team screams in despair, fearing the worst, but 11 remains calm and still amidst the chaos. In an instant, the devastation halts. A profound calm settles over the scene, and when the dust clears, everything has been reduced to rubble, signaling that the nightmare is finally over.
18 months later, Hawkins has largely returned to normal. The town's streets bustle with life, its buildings fully restored, and hundreds of residents go about their days happily. Robin is back at her radio studio, giving updates on the events that transpired. With a laugh, she notes that there are no more soldiers, fences, or security cameras, and instead people are smiling, enjoying movies, and living freely. Meanwhile, Steve has taken on the role of technical director for a small kids team, with Derek among its members. Robin reflects that the town doesn't feel quite like the Hawkins she remembers. It seems different somehow. But she realizes maybe it's not the town that has changed, it's her. Perhaps everyone has changed, especially her friends who are graduating today, marking the passage of time and the transformations it brings. The class of '89 is taking the podium today. To celebrate, she posts a song online and plays it on the radio. Meanwhile, Max is skiing when Lucas interrupts her, warning that if she broke a bone, she'd be on her own. He doesn't want another trip to the hospital. Max tells him she actually prefers being alone. and teasingly asks what he's wearing. Surprised by the question, Lucas replies that graduation is happening today. Max corrects him, noting that's still 2 hours away and joking that he's getting ahead of himself. In that moment, they lean in and share a passionate kiss, letting the joy of the day and their connection take over. Dustin spots his mother, who's taking a photo of him, and they share a warm hug. He reassures her that he'll be a short trip away. With tears in her eyes, his mother tells him she knows, and Dustin adds that he'll be home with her whenever he has free time. Meanwhile, Will, Hopper, and Joyce are taking pictures when Mike's mother calls, frantic because she can't find her son. At the same time, Mike sits alone in a chair, lost in thought, when Hopper approaches and tells him his mother is worried. Mike struggles to articulate his feelings, saying he still doesn't understand why 11 made that decision. Hopper listens patiently, then reassures him that what happened wasn't his fault. He explains that Mike has two choices. He can either hold on to the guilt, believing it was his fault for disappearing and causing pain, or he can try to accept what happened and find a way to move forward. After some time, Mike arrives at the graduation party, finds his mother and apologizes, explaining that he had panicked. At the ceremony, Dustin steps up to give a heartfelt speech. He reflects on the past year, saying that his childhood and everyone else's had been stolen, and that it had been an incredibly difficult year. He shares his love for Dungeons & Dragons, explaining that in the game there are two kinds of chaos: bad chaos and good chaos. Bad chaos brings destruction, anarchy, and war, while good chaos can spark innovation, growth, and positive change. Dustin found himself forming friendships with people he never would have expected, and he wasn't the only one. Many others also found connections across divisions. He concludes that he is a better person now, shaped and strengthened by the friends he's made and the lessons they've shared. At the restaurant, Hopper proposes to Joyce, and she accepts it. That same night, part of the team gathers to play Dungeons & Dragons. After an intense game in which they defeat the evil wizard, Mike finally reveals the truth. He thinks 11 is still alive. Mike shares a theory that before that explosion, Kali created an illusion to fake 11's death, and that 11 is still alive somewhere, living under a new identity, happily. They all smile, holding on to hope that 11 is still out there. Max remarks, yes, it's just a theory. Will asks, how can they be sure it's real? And Mike admits he doesn't know. He's not certain, but he chooses to believe it. The whole group imagines it with him, tears glistening in their eyes. At that moment, Mike's mom calls them for dinner, and everyone gets up, packing away their game to head upstairs. Before following, a group of kids, including Holly and Derek, sit down to discuss Dungeons & Dragons. Derek sniffs the air and asks if someone farted. The kids argue and laugh, and Mike watches them for a moment, nostalgic, a small smile on his face. Then he heads upstairs and closes the door behind him, leaving the children to their laughter and games. And the Stranger Things series ends right here.